views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Are you ready? The Kornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Kornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Kornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show, Living Heaven on Earth. I'm super excited about the show today because Dennis Gaither is with us. Hi, Dennis.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
And what we're talking about today is a taste of Hakomi. Hakomi is a way of being with another that is, in essence, mindfulness-based, assisted self-study. It is experiential, focused on the present, and makes use of reactions evoked by little experiments with a person in a mindful state as a way of discovering how we organize our experience and how to release limiting beliefs about ourselves. Underlining and supporting this process is the practice of loving presence created by focusing on those qualities of the other that inspire and nourish us. And I think that doing this taste of Hakomi and learning about Hakomi today is perfect, Dennis, because there's so many people right now that I'm sure that are challenged in the world, in life, that can all benefit from nourishing ourselves more, practicing mindfulness. And I know that you and I are going to do some experiments later on in the show. But first, tell us a little bit about a taste of Hakomi and tell us about your own journey.
Okay. So I would be happy to. And my journey with Hakomi was about 1987. And I was at the first U.S. Association of Body Psychotherapy conference. It was in Boulder, Colorado. And I had the opportunity to spend about a day and a half in a small group with Ron Kurtz, who was the primary founder of Hakomi. There's a picture of Ron Kurtz that I've included, and so we can include that in the video portion later. And what I experienced in that little bit of time, just watching Ron work with a group of people that he had hardly met, most of them he'd never met before, and how he was able to go so deeply, so quickly, and come out at the other side with something truly healing and nourishing. And I got to be one of the beneficiaries of that too. I sort of got cracked wide open. And so I was just totally inspired. And but I was also a little mystified because it's like, it seemed magic to me. Like, how in the world did he do that? But it was one of those moments, I don't know how he did that, but I want to do that. I want to do that. So afterwards, after that was over with, several friends and I, we were able to persuade Ron to come to Seattle and do a training actually with us, which actually was a 3-year-long training, and in which we just really focused on learning the work, which is really by experiential. It's mostly experiential work for the most part is the best way to learn, and that's how we teach it too. There was a smaller group of us. There were 6 of us that continued teaching that work afterwards and ultimately created what we now have as the Seattle Hakomi Educational Network, which I'll be happy to talk about kind of towards the end of the program. So that's a little bit of my journey with it is I've continued to be working with this work as we call it SHEN, Seattle Hakomi Educational Network, but we've developed from we've really developed a whole training program, and I personally have been a contributing part of a community. And it's actually, I will say one more thing about that, is that early on when we were just very fledgling, just starting to do this and not quite sure what we were getting ourselves into, but we started to really have a little reflectiveness about why we were doing it. And we used to have our business meetings in those days at a local Indian restaurant in Seattle. Mm. And so we paused in our, and just went inside and kind of like, what's our purpose here? And really everybody came up with something quite similar, which if I were to distill it, it would be supporting, loving, and healing community. Mm. It was like there was a shared purpose there. And that actually really is what's evolved. And the Seattle group is continued to grow, but then it's intersected with a lot of other Hakomi communities all over the world. And it just seems like it's just kind of a growing, loving, healing community.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So the loving, healing community, did that spread? The Hakomi, did it spread all over the world? Because did you not just tell me, or did I understand that wrong? That Ron invented this. He was the creator,
primary creator of it.
Primary,
and it's branched off since then in different ways.
Okay.
So Ron Kurtz, and then also Donna Martin, who was one of our teachers, had communities in Mexico, Japan, Argentina, really Canada, a number of places. But there's also a Hakomi Institute that has also been very active in spreading Hakomi. So it's not like we created this thing all over the world, but as our local community grew, then it was sort of like there's a larger community that we're also a part of.
Yeah, I love that. So I love that, it's community based, and how it's amazing what happens, how that kind of loving kindness, that kind of presence spreads, right? How that spreads into other communities and everything, and impacting a lot of lives.
Right. And that's been really impactful for me personally.
How so?
And well, first of all, just a sense of being a part of a community like that. I have been very closely working with our group in Seattle. And as we've gone through various growing pains, and there's always a growing, it's just the importance of the relationship. So that but for me personally, I noticed that there's just a sense of calmness. I'm much more aware of very much more aware of other people's nuances and able to be mindful, and be able to notice when I'm not being mindful also, which is really important. And then to find the little breadcrumbs to come back, because nobody stays in that mindfulness place all the time, and I certainly don't. But it's easy to recognize when I'm not. Professionally, it's been huge. I found that I completely had to unlearn a lot of things from other training, how to ask fewer questions and instead just track mindfully what's happening, offer little, what we call contact statements, just little namings of what's happening, doing little experiments, supporting people in finding out for themselves how they're organized. So the bottom line is it's joyful for me to witness someone's blossoming, because something in me blossoms. Their blossoming is my blossoming.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that it's not a one-time thing, though. It's a continuous unfolding that just goes deeper and deeper. And to me, it's just ever fascinating. And I know I'll never reach the bottom of it, which is actually, I like that. I know I'll never reach the bottom of it, but each little new step is, yes.
It's taking you closer. It's taking you close. It's taking you yet closer. It's kind of cool to think that you'll never reach the bottom. And then there's another part of me that's thinking, why not? Why not reach the bottom? But yeah.
Well, maybe it's just our Maybe it's just loving presence all the way down, just to borrow the. It just goes deeper.
How were you introduced to it? How was it a meeting with Ron, or how did you get introduced?
It was in the workshop in Boulder, Colorado. I was a part of this that group, and one of the options was you could spend a day and a half with one teacher. And so I didn't really know much about Hakomi at that point, but I spent a day and a half in a school.
Dennis, can you speak up a little bit?
Sure, I can do that.
I think what happens is that you drop into more of a meditative state.
Okay.
And
all righty. How's that? I just turned myself up here too.
You turned yourself up? It's a little bit better. Yeah, I just don't. I want people to be able to catch every word.
Okay, how's that?
Yeah, that's good.
That's better. Okay, I
yeah.
turned the microphone up a little bit also. I'll turn me up too.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah. So you were saying that you were introduced to it in a workshop.
Yeah, it was a Boulder. It was a U.S. Association of Body Psychotherapy conference in Boulder, and it was. I had that opportunity of spending a day and a half in a small group with Ron.
Yeah.
It was profound and inspiring, and I wanted to learn how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was how. And it may be worthwhile just to think about a little bit about kind of what I have stepped into in terms of where Hakomi comes from. And basically it was developed probably in the 70s mostly by Ron Kurtz. Ron was a creative genius. He was always pushing his envelope, always wanting to go further, and very open to experiments, to learning new things. He himself was very involved in Buddhism, Taoism, systems theory. But the work that he developed over time, that evolved over time, really was based on universal principles, not specifically tied to any particular path or tradition. And we'll talk a little bit more about those principles shortly. But
yeah, well, it was interesting because I wanted you to invite Ron to come and be part of the show today.
Yeah.
That I thought would be great, but then you said that he's joining us from the other side.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ron, for being here and present and joining us from the other side as Dennis is sharing your beloved Hakomi with the world. And so it's an honor and a pleasure to learn about Hakomi. I know that you have been impacted in a huge way because you are a practitioner of it and you teach classes and an educator. So I always hear you getting ready for a training. And you guys have an upcoming training coming up in Bellingham, which we'll let everyone know here just shortly. So we're going to take a quick break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. I'm with Dennis, and we are talking about A Taste of Hakomi. And stay tuned because later on we're going to do a little bit of an experiment. We'll be right back.
Dream on, fly high, and live adventurously on The Laura Meeks Show. Tune in each month on Transformation Talk Radio as host Laura Meeks guides you in finding your unique gifts and bringing them to life. As a certified life coach, speaker, and veteran bomber pilot for the U.S. Air Force, Laura knows how to follow a dream. She is ready to support you so you can dream on, fly high, and live adventurously. For more information on Laura and her work, visit flyhighliving.com.
How would you like increased health and vitality? How would you like to avoid the onset of disease as well as slow the aging process? This is all possible through a simple, safe, and natural process. Every day we are either moving toward wellness or away from wellness.
Hi, I'm Mary Jane Mack. I'd like to be your partner in achieving optimal health. Contact me now at maryjanemack.com or call 425-392-0659. Visit maryjanemack.com.
Are you traveling most of your day? Do you want to take Transformation Talk Radio with you anywhere you go? Well, guess what? There's an app for that. Just go to the App Store on your Apple device or the Google Play Store on your Android and search Transformation Talk Radio. Catch all of our live shows no matter where you are. Thanks for listening.
Are you ready to shift your current beliefs about death? From debilitating pain and loss? Follow Angie Corbett-Kuiper as she shares that through choice, present moment awareness, and keeping an open mind that anything is possible, even in death. Tune in to Beyond Proof Radio with Angie, redefining death and loss, every first and third Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more, visit BeyondProof.com.
Like the branches of a tree, universal knowledge, insight, and wisdom must be weaved together to bring forward to others. If you live in the Western Washington area, you will want to make the trip to Auburn and visit the new Alchemy of the Goddesses Center. Now open and offering healing sessions, classes, crystals, books, oils, and more. Find out more about the center. Visit alchemyofthegoddesses.com. That's alchemyofthegoddesses.com.
Demystifying the journey on From Here to There Radio with your host, Diane Garris. Tune in every third Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific Time on TransformationTalkRadio.com as Diane helps you get from where you are now to the life you envision. Get ready to get unstuck and move forward. Every show features a new special segment, New Age Notes, demystifying hot metaphysical topics of the day. For more information or to work with Diane, visit DianeGarris.com.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the Kornelia Stephanie Show, and we're with Dennis Gaither, and we're talking about Hakomi. Dennis, tell us where did the term Hakomi come from?
All right, thank you. It's actually a very interesting story. The word sounds, many people when they first hear it, it sounds like something Asian, like Japanese especially, but it actually isn't. In the 70s, when Ron and some of his friends were developing this work and they were wondering what to call it, I think for a while they called it Kurt's work, and I think Ron probably really liked that, but they were looking for something a little bit more broad-based. And but during that time, one of the people in his group had a dream, and in the dream, Ron handed him a card with the word Hakomi written on it.
Wow.
And nobody knew what it meant.
Huh.
But one of the people was a student of Native American languages and thought it sounded a little bit familiar, did some research. And actually that word comes from the Hopi Indian language. And what it means literally is, how do you stand in relation to these many realms? Or a more contemporary wording of it would be, who are you? Mm-hmm. Which is perfect for assisted self-study, looking at how we organize our experience. Our experience isn't random. It was perfect. And so the term has stuck ever since. And I think it's an amazing story of how things can come together.
Well, and then, like, when you said that the question was asked, what do we name this?
Mm-hmm.
And how everyone was standing in the question and being curious. And then it's like it was just freely given, and it was in a dream, and there it was, and it's actually perfect.
Yeah.
It's so perfect. You couldn't have come up with this.
I certainly couldn't have. I don't think anybody in that group would have come up with a funny sounding word like Hakomi. But it was given. It was actually given from some other level of awareness, and I actually find that very, very humbling and fascinating at the same time.
Yeah, it already feels like a very co-creative process. So
mm-hmm.
more than one person was coming together with co-creating this process that's now taught, educated all over the world. So, part of the Hakomi Foundation, there are universal principles that are foundational to Hakomi. Can you tell us a little bit about those principles?
Yeah, I would be happy to do that. They're sort of the basis, the bread and butter of the work. And one that is really important is the principle of organicity. And what that is the idea that there is something in us, there is an intelligence in us, a self-directing, self-healing energy that actually knows what it needs, that knows where it wants to go. And so part of this work is a way of kind of aligning with that and helping another person align with that in themselves, and having a certain trust that there is something in us that it's kind of like a healing presence. We kind of describe it as a principle of organicity. I like to personify things a little bit. I think of it as we have a healer inside of us that can guide us and may do that in a number of different ways. But it's definitely a guiding principle of this work. Another one is mindfulness, and mindfulness is just simply being present being in the present moment, and it's being more than just sitting on a cushion and doing meditation, although that's a lovely practice. But this is relational mindfulness. It's being present with another and noticing the back and forth flow, and especially with an attention to what wants to happen here and what might be a person not able to allow to happen because of how they've learned to organize their experience. And nonviolence. Nonviolence is also a really important one. There's no coercion. There's no, talking someone out of their protective, whatever way we've organized our internal life to protect ourselves. There's not like nobody tries to interpret that or knock that down, but we may actually ally with it. We may actually invite someone, if they would be willing to let someone kind of actually hold that for them and do that for them. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about experiments. Mm-hmm. But nonviolence, and I would say this is not only includes the typical kinds of, overt kind of violence, but actually more subtle kinds as well, like imposing an agenda, things like that, much of which is actually unintentional. That really it's easy to notice that one can get caught in, but it's actually an awareness. Okay, this is really a principle that we keep coming back to. Unity. Unity principle is also that we're all a part of an integrated whole. All of us are together in this world, but also within ourselves. We have an inner life, many different parts and aspects of ourselves that also create an internal whole. And there is actually a sense of wholeness within ourselves. And really a recognizing of that and coming to an awareness of that is important. And then the other is mind-body holism. So this work really honors our experience of being in a body. And it's kind of like, it's like the body is like, it's a communication device. It's an interpersonal one, like you and I are talking right now, and whoever's listening in, they're part of the interpersonal communication that's happening. But it's also an intrapersonal communication device, in that we hold a lot of our patterns, our beliefs, our habits, our protections. We actually hold that in our body. And so it's a way of tuning in, actually, and really coming to know things about our subjective inner experience that we may not have been consciously aware of. Habitual patterns, little gestures, those things actually have meaning if we can learn how to just connect with them and work with them in a very respectful, nonviolent kind of way. Those are the 5 original core principles of Hakomi.
Tell me the first one again.
The first one was organicity, which basically is that there's an organic wholeness inside of us. In my wording is there's a healing presence inside of us that knows where we need to go.
Right.
And its way of communicating may be subtle, but if we can learn to align with that, or for ourselves or in support of someone else's alignment, that can actually take us where we need to go.
Yeah, and I always find that, working with another, like you said earlier, the blossoming, seeing another person blossom, another person's experience is also really life-changing for the individual that's witnessing. right?
Oh, totally.
Right.
Totally. Well, at this point in my life, there's just really nothing quite as delightful to me as just witnessing someone's blossoming, because it's always shared. Something's blossoming in me as well. It's always, there's the unity principle here. We are part of an interconnectedness, and there's something magical about that. I find the more I can get my thinking mind out of the way and let something else move through, the deeper and more powerful it is for everybody.
Right. Yeah. So I know that you and I we're going to go to break here just shortly. But before we go to break, let's talk a little bit about some of the experiences that we can do, and that you and I are actually going to do after we come back from break. We're going to do.
Sure.
But let's let the listeners know what we're going to do, and then we're going to take a break, and then we come back and then we do it.
All right, cool. Thank you, Kornelia.
Yeah.
So one of the things that it would be is really essential to understanding Hakomi is this the background in which one works, and we have a name for it. We call it loving presence. And loving presence, it's a way of being with another person, but also with yourself. There's a quick way of describing it. It's a way of being fully with another person, but really open to the nourishment that's available to us. So if I'm in being loving presence with you, I'm actually letting myself be nourished by you. Mm. And my attention is to what is nourishing about Kornelia for me. And so in order to do that, I have to be with you, but I also have to be noticing what's going on in me too. And that's different from our usual way of interacting. Typically, they're separated in our often unconscious kind of state. We may mostly focused on me if I'm worried about, am I doing this right? Or maybe if I'm in a state of distress or sadness, the tendency is to be pretty inward focused there. Or maybe I'm going to be here for you and neglect myself. But loving presence is not simply being loving for somebody. It's actually being really noticing what's nourishing. So nourishment could be like feeling inspired, feeling motivated. It could be like relaxing, could be like feeling like laughing, just being touched in some way.
I love that. I love the idea and the thought of what's nourishing, noticing what's nourishing.
Mm-hmm. And to do that, you have to be really tuned into what's inside yourself. And you can practice loving presence anywhere. In our Seattle trainings, we actually give this enough of importance. We have a whole weekend workshop dedicated to it. And we have a little exercise called loving presence, which maybe we'll get to do here pretty soon. Or you have the time here. We can do it either before or after the break, but maybe after the break here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful. I love anything that has to do with nourishing, offering that, like you call it, the loving presence, offering love, offering nourishing, offering witnessing, offering listening. These are wonderful, radical self-love practices that we can do for ourselves and then do with each other.
Yeah, if someone is in a place of pain, being witnessed in it can be very healing, nourishing experience for that person. But it also is healing. There's also something inspiring or nourishing for the listener as well in hearing that story.
Absolutely.
It's a matter of being willing. It's a willingness to just kind of, okay, there's something here.
Yeah. So that's great. We're gonna do an experiment. We're gonna take a break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. Stay tuned. And when Dennis and I come back, we're going to do an experiment of a taste of Hakomi.
Cool.
We'll be right back.
Wow. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. This is Talk Radio to Thrive By. I'm telling you, I got to pinch myself some days because when each of us gets called to do something that we so not thought was in our wheelhouse to do for a purpose that's so much greater than us, we get to show up and shine.
If you would like to show up and shine on the Dr. Pat Show as a co-host or sponsor, send us an email to inspire@thedrpatshow.com.
This is Peggy Snow, practitioner at Stellar Reflections, with a Stellar Reflections Minute. So many people these days are trying to find ways to relieve their stress. What happens to our breathing when we're feeling overwhelm and stress? When we tune in, we realize that we're either holding our breath or taking very shallow breath to signal the body that all is well, which most of the time it is. Sometimes all that is needed is a nice, deep breath to break the cycle. First, exhale to get all the stale air out by engaging the abdominal muscles and blowing gently. Next, take a nice full breath in, feeling it fill your body all the way down to your hips. Release fully and enjoy the freedom of movement. Notice how your body feels. Do you feel refreshed? Calmness is only a breath away. This has been a Stellar Reflections Minute. For more information about what we offer at Stellar Reflections, visit us at stellarreflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
Do you want the knowledge and wisdom to understand where spirituality, science, and psychology intersect? Then join the Karmic Path Radio Show with Tina and Laura on TransformationTalkRadio.com, Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific. Follow this charmingly, disarmingly dynamic duo as they explore how psychic ability, spirituality, and karmic law tie together. For more information on Tina, Laura, and their groundbreaking work, visit thekarmicpath.com.
Do you know how powerful your thoughts and beliefs are in determining your experience of your life? Is it really true that simply by changing some of the words you use in your day-to-day language, that you can change your life? I'm Megan Edge. Join me on Playing on the Edge, Radical Change with Ease, with my co-host Dr. Pat on Transformation Talk Radio. I look forward to seeing you there.
To find out more about Megan Edge, visit her website at meganedge.ca.
Are you looking for the perfect setting for your next workshop or retreat? At Spirit Fire Meditative Retreat Center, cultivating consciousness is what we do best. Our guests count on us to create an atmosphere that supports serenity and well-being. We lead from the heart and create space for the mind. Freshly prepared meals designed with local and organic ingredients, 95 acres of beautiful woods and pastures, and a facility built with green in mind. This is what you'll find at Spirit Fire. For more information, visit spiritfireretreatcenter.com.
Love this show today on the Kornelia Stephanie Show with Dennis Gaither and Hakomi. So, Dennis, we are going to try a little experiment right now, and you're going to set it up for us.
I am going to do that. So we talked in the last segment about loving presence, just how it is. It's an orientation, a way of being with oneself and another. But we also have an exercise, or we call them practices, actually, as a way of learning it and structuring it a little bit. And so the way this works is there are two of us. In this case, Kornelia and I. Kornelia has kindly agreed to do this with me live. And one person is a speaker for, in this case, a couple of minutes. The other person is listening in loving presence. Both are being mindful, noticing what it's like to both speak and be the listener when your listener's in loving presence. Loving presence, again, is just being present with the other, just noticing what nourishes you. What is nourishing here? At the end of the speaker's turn, then the person who's been listening, take a moment, just kind of notice whatever's inside and kind of feel the nourishment of it, and see if you can put it into words and communicate to the other person how you were nourished by them. Okay, so it's actually a lovely practice. It's a great way to start and end the day, and it's okay to do this at home. It'll change your life. So I could tell lots of stories about it, but maybe we'll just do it here. How's that?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Kornelia, would you like to be the speaker first or the listener first?
I think I would like to be the listener first.
Okay, cool. You get to be the listener first. So let me see what wants to come up here. So I'm going to go with just the first thing that pops up. And it was an image, and it was just an image of both of my sons, actually. I have things coming up with both of them. One of them is with my older son, Ryan, and I saw him with all these goats that he has. He has this whole family of goats. It's just totally fascinating to me. And also 3 kids from ages 6 to 12. So they're my grandkids. And they're also delightful. But I'm just remembering a trip, a backpacking trip we did last summer with two of the oldest ones, the 2 granddaughters and the goats, and my other son, Eric, and Ryan, and my brother, Douglas. So all of us were on this family gathering here, a lot of Gaither boys in the mountains here and girls. And it was, it was kind of a rainy day when we started, but the next day was beautiful and sunny. But just the goats are fascinating. The grandkids are delightful. How they just sort of bond with the goats, and they're so interesting. They have their little personalities. They like to be with you. They'll follow you. And one trip we did, my brother and I were not quite keeping up with my son, who was way ahead of us, actually, with most of the goats. But there was this one goat that really didn't like to see the herd split up. And so he kept coming back. It was so sweet. So it was really just a delightful time. And so I'm so looking forward to more of that with Ryan and the grandkids, and also going cross-country skiing in about a week with my other son, Eric, and my brother. So I'm just feeling really grateful for those connections. Such a joy in my life, and it's kind of those little things that are really, really quite important to me. They just fill me with joy. So I can be done now with that turn.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And so now I'm going to say, if I remember correctly, the setup, I'm going to say how I felt nourished.
Yeah. If you want to go inside for a moment, or maybe you just already know, just kind of like how were you nourished by whatever. And the nourishment can come from what was spoken, but it actually can have nothing to do with what was spoken as well. Anything about the situation that's nourishing.
Okay. Well, then do let me go in and see if there's something else. I already know, but let me
Cool.
I can see if there's something else.
Excellent.
So what comes up for me is how I was nourished is the image and the feeling that I got in seeing you all, your sons, the goats, your brother, in nature.
Uh-huh.
And how nourishing nature is.
Mm-hmm.
And how nourishing it is, to be connected.
Uh-huh.
And the way you were telling the story. So that was what stood out for me, is the nourishing, being nourished by the goats, step by step, and the goats want to be with you. That right there was a statement that warms my soul and nourishes my soul.
Yeah.
The goats want to be with you.
Yeah.
And you wanting to be with your children, your grandchildren, and how much you enjoy that, the inspiration that you get out of that, how it fills you with joy. And again, validation of how important it is that we have connections like that, and that we spend energy and time making those a priority.
Yeah. Thank you. That felt really good. I felt really, really seen and felt. And I noticed myself just kind of smiling as I listened to you, and it was at the same time remembering that time and just the loving connection that we all have. What a gift it is. Yes.
It is a gift. It is a gift.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, and if you would like to speak, I'm going to just listen in loving presence to you.
So what comes up for me is a beautiful phone call that I received from one of the women that is in my mastermind group. And she phoned me today, and she was sharing with me how she's processing. Her mother is in illness, and most likely is in the process of passing away, in and out of the hospital kind of thing. And how she was sharing that with me, that she's in deep grief around all of that, in deep process. And she began sharing with me how at the same time she's also very excited about what's going on in her life and some of the changes that she's made with actions that she's taken recently in her life, in part that had to do with me being involved in her life. So she was offering that appreciation, and also, just sharing her humanity with me. And, that was a really huge piece. I could relate because I'm going through a similar situation right now with someone that I love and that's close to me. So it was a beautiful way for me to be able to be there for her and remind her of how amazing she is and what a beautiful role model she is for her children, and how she is able to heal and show her mother and also her father the loving kindness, and how she's healing that lineage in the family. And I just was so grateful to be a witness in that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Well, what I could say that nourished me, one is I felt really a sense of inspiration about you sharing about just your connection with this person and how you've been able to be such a support for her. And also, as you were sharing, I could just kind of feel, and you kind of could see it in your eyes. There's a softness there as you really actually were able to be with her in her pain and the challenges that she's facing. There was a lot of compassion and warmth there, and a lot of tenderness. It's just kind of in your energy and your face, and that's kind of softened something in me, makes me want to smile. And I had a feeling of gratitude, gratefulness, kind of a gratefulness here that you're doing the work you're doing in the world, and that you're supporting someone's blossoming. And I really got very well how much you treasure that, because we blossom too. Thank you.
And what it really does for me right now, especially, is it is offering. We all want to be useful. We all want to be useful. We all want to contribute. We all want our gifts to be received. What it is that we're giving out, and so it offered that for me. It's offering that for me, and it makes me feel gratitude as well for the exchange of energy that is happening between two people that are connected, that are sharing back and forth. One person with another, and it's just flowing back and forth, just how you and I are sharing right now in this experience. And we're lifting each other up, right?
Right. It gives me a sense of optimism, of hope. There's this sense of things are moving in a good direction, even though they may not look like it all the time.
Yeah, and this whole piece about things are moving in a good direction. It's part of our humanity, isn't it? Where we're dealing with life. And we're dealing with the challenges that life brings us, and at the same time, and we're so capable, we're so able, we're so capable to deal with it. And then at the same time, we're also, we're also dealing with the pain and the grief and whatever is there, and still getting up and being committed and devoted to our dreams.
Yeah, being a truly beneficial presence.
Yes. It is a miraculous time right now that we're in. I'm so glad that you're bringing us the Hakomi presence to the airwaves, and I'm sure that as many people are listening to this, and as they are feeling the energy, because I'm just feeling the warmth that we both have cultivated now on this call, and the stories that we shared back and forth. I'm just feeling the warmth and the love, and the again the mindfulness and the listening that we are bringing here. So I'm glad that you brought this today.
So we're just naturally practicing loving presence.
Yeah, just naturally.
That happens,
That's so awesome. So tell us about, we're going to bring Hakomi back possibly in the next segment too, which is the next time when you come on. I want to tell everybody, Dennis is on the last Friday of every month. So be sure to put it on your calendar, and don't miss a show. And even if you want to give us a call next time and you want to call in and talk to Dennis, it's also something that we welcome at 1-800-830. Nope, got a brain fart. Nope, can't say it right now. Don't write it down. We'll tell you the next time.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
So we can talk more about, I would be happy to talk more about like experiments a little bit and how we do them, and maybe even some participatory kinds of things. So maybe stay tuned for next time.
Yeah, so the next time, that would be great. So it's the last Friday of the month. And so Dennis, you all have upcoming Hakomi workshops.
Yes, we do. Actually, I want to say a little bit about the Seattle Hakomi Educational Network, because and we have a website, www.seattlehakomi.com, and we actually are offering workshops.
You have to say it that fast,
Okay.
Someone's driving and they're hearing you, and
okay. Thank you. So I appreciate you've done this a lot of times before. This is still kind of new for me, so I appreciate your coaching there a little bit. So if you simply Google Seattle Hakomi, you'll find our website. And on that, we have a calendar of events and trainings. And to describe a few of the trainings, the workshops we do, and one of them are what we call the Personhood Series, or we call it Level 1. And those can be standalone they're 2-day events. They're all, if you happen to be a therapist or a social worker or a massage practitioner, they're accredited for CEUs. And one of them that I am personally teaching with my longtime teaching partner and friend, Lynn Morrison, is the first weekend of April. It'll be in Bellingham, and it's called Loving Presence. We do a whole weekend workshop called Loving Presence. The other ones that we do in different parts of the city, including Shoreline and Tacoma area. And those are the ones right now. There's one called Nourishing Communication, which is about being nourishing in our communication, but also noticing the blocks to nourishment that we might have. There's one called Quieting the Mind, noticing being quiet in the mind, but also what gets us out of quiet, and nonverbal awareness. We do have a year-long professional level training called Level 2. It's a year-long training that's totally transformative. I could talk a whole hour about that. But I'll just kind of, and then there's another called Deepening Skills, or Level 3, where it's a great way to actually experience what Hakomi therapy is like, because we actually do sessions. They're coached sessions. And the next one of those is coming up. It'll be at Bastyr University the first weekend in March 2nd and 3rd. I think there may be still a few openings for people to come there as client observers. People can come as a client observer, which anybody can come, and you can experience the Hakomi session.
Wow, I like that idea.
Yeah, and then, or coming as a therapist. Those are for people who've completed our Level 2 professional level training, and they're working towards being certified. And so those are coached one-on-one by one of the trainers. There are currently 7 of us, and there are 4 senior trainers that include David Cole, Carol Lattice-Gaskin, Lynn Morrison, and myself. And then we have some amazing trainers as well. But so the next one I'm personally doing, first weekend in April in Bellingham. There are a couple on the website that are between now and then. And deepening skills at Bastille, March 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, and what I remember, though, about these Hakomi trainings is that people, if they want to get on it, that I would advise you to go and get your ticket as soon as possible.
Yep.
Because these workshops, they sell out. They're so successful and powerful,
right,
that they sell out. I remember that talking with you, you've told me this, that each time they've been sold out. So
like a couple of weeks ahead of time. Well, we keep the group size small because these are experiential. It's you don't sit and look at a PowerPoint all weekend. You're doing stuff. They're basically mindfulness-based exercises, practices that are intended to invite you to explore yourself in support of the facilitators in the group. They're delightful. They're fun to teach. We've been doing them a long time, and I never get tired of. It's always something new. It's like painting a canvas. You start, you don't know quite what's going to show up, but you have a certain trust it's going to be pretty cool. So there's that excitement, and so
wonderful.
Yeah.
So that's the upcoming workshop. We announced the website, and Hakomi. Just Google Hakomi Seattle, and they can find out the information there. Right, Dennis?
It's www.seattlehakomi.com. But if you just Google Seattle Hakomi, there we are.
Good.
You can meet all of us there at the trainers and upcoming events. And there's actually an option to sign up for a newsletter. It's free. Comes out about once a month. And there's some poems and images and upcoming events.
Yeah. And it's just such a wonderful self-healing practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a self-healing is really moving into knowing that you can heal and recover from whatever is there. Being witnessed by another and being held by another, nourished by another.
Yeah. We could talk a little bit more about how that works in our next segment here too.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
And maybe in the next show, maybe we want to do another experiment, because this isn't the only one that we did today. There's more. So maybe you want to bring another one, and we can do another one, and also invite the callers to call in. For maybe doing a practice with you.
Yeah, loving presence is sort of the background where everything happens, and then in the course of being with another, we may notice some things that something that wants to happen that the person may have difficulty allowing, and so we create an experiment to study that, and there are many different ways of doing that, and so I can. I think you're the timekeeper here. Do we have a few minutes to say something briefly about that, or do we need to move on?
We have 3 minutes, but before we let you wrap it up, I'm going to just invite everyone to, you talked about newsletters. Text Kornelia, the word Kornelia, to the number 22828, and be sure to sign up for my newsletter, which that it does it for you, so that you can stay in the know with all the podcasts and radio shows that are being presented, and all the good tidbits of information that I generally share. They come out once a week, so be sure to sign up there. And also take a look at my Keeper of the Garden course, which supports you in processing your emotions and helping you bring peace into your life for 21 days for $21 at KorneliaStephanie.com, Keeper of the Garden. And be sure to stay tuned. Right after this show, I'm talking to the money boss, the Millionaire Imprint for Women, Michelle Boss, and we're talking about how to really build a strong financial foundation with savings, investments, and where to start with the basics. So right after this show. So Dennis, we've got 2 minutes. Take it out. Yeah.
Take it out. All right. Oh, goodness. I'm just going to say just really briefly that, and I've been doing this kind of work for over 20 years, and I've studied a lot of different modalities, and many of them are really helpful. There's one thing that's really unique about Hakomi, and that is that way of actually doing little experiments in mindfulness, maybe offering a nourishing phrase and to see what comes back. A little phrase that could be nourishing, but maybe it can't be taken in. And seeing what comes up in reaction to that is just one of many, many examples, which I'm kind of excited to talk more about. Because this has had such a huge impact on me personally. It's really joyful to be able to share it in this way and in more direct ways as well.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you shared it with us here today, and that we got a taste of what it's like. And this is really just the beginning. People can follow you and look at Hakomi website in Seattle and see for the upcoming workshops. And thank you, Dennis, for being here, for bringing us this. And we will see you again next time on the Kornelia Stephanie Show, Living Heaven on Earth. Right now we're practicing Hakomi. And so thank you, Dennis. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see you all again next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've
Bye, everybody.
been listening to the Kornelia Stephanie Show, Wake Up to Love, your call to action. Tune in each week on Transformation Talk Radio. Kornelia's joy is to engage others in practical ways, showing us how to live in the new earth in harmony with our true nature. For more information on Kornelia and her extraordinary work, or to listen to past shows, go to her website at korneliastephanie.com.